Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Florida Business Forum, Florida's #1 business forum podcast. Here's your information guru and anchorman, Sam Yates.
Wow!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Florida Business Forum podcast. I'm your anchorman and business information guru, Sam Yates, and today I am very happy to say that we're going to take a quantum leap into an arena that everybody should be in. And I know my guest is smiling away right now, Blake Baynham. And the reason he is smiling, I sort of gave it away a little bit there with a quantum leap, but you have invented or discovered, I'm going to let you describe whichever it is, an invention or a discovery of a new concept. And Blake, welcome to the program, and tell us about QEP.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you getting me on here. So QEP is now QLP since we last spoke.
Okay.
Quantum Longevity Protocol. It's undergone a few different iterations and ultimately decided from still the same product, but from a marketing standpoint, more closely speaks to our customer and our patient who we're really trying to reach. Give you a little background on me. I've been in the health, wellness, fitness space for the last 15 years, and everything I've done is just trying to improve quality of life for our customers and for our patients. And we got into the longevity space about 3.5 years ago. Opened up our facility here in West Palm Beach as a medical spa. Very quickly realized it's a saturated space, especially here in South Florida, and weren't able to really serve our clients at the depth that we wanted to, right? That business model in general seems to be very volume-based, right? Very much focused on getting people in, getting them out, and ultimately kind of a race to the bottom because as it becomes commoditized with pricing and so forth. So early on, we recognized that, hey, the health side of our med spa is what's really driving the boat. And so we focused on getting heavier into the diagnostics, which initially included functional DNA testing, biological age, pace of age testing, added in nutritional sensitivity. And then my business partner got excited because he is in imaging for the last 15 years as well, was looking to branch into more of the preventive MRI cash pay space, which very closely aligned with what we're doing inside the fountain. So underwent construction after being open for 6 months. We have a beautiful space here in Palm Beach. Tore half of it up 6 months after being open, put in the MRI, put in the X-ray. And as of January 25, so just over a year ago, we opened with all those modalities, kind of reopened with all the modalities. What led us to Quantum Longevity Protocol was with all that diagnostic data, right? If you're doing full body MRI, functional DNA, biological age, nutritional sensitivity, advanced blood work, and we're getting ready to add in VO2 max, you have 900 pages of diagnostic data. And it's overwhelming for most people. We have 4 different providers that review each of those different reports with our patients. But even within our own building, each provider is looking at the patient through a different lens and kind of has a different opinion as to what's priority. On top of that, most of our patients have their own concierge, primary care physician, cardiologist, endocrinologist, right? And they're going and bouncing around to those providers as well, and they have different opinions as what's important. So where this left our patients was in a place where they have, again, hundreds and hundreds of pages of diagnostic data, several conflicting opinions from highest level experts in their field, and no real framework as to how to decide where to go from here, what's important, what to pay attention to, what to ignore, what to defer, and creates a lot of anxiety for the patient, right? As patients, we're not qualified. I'm not a medical professional, right? I'm a business person. I've been around the health space and medical space, so I understand the business. But me as a patient, I'm not qualified to make those high-level decisions. And ultimately, we're left to kind of improvise on our health, right? Throw a dart and hope that it's the right choice. Trust this physician because we trust them, right? Or AI told me this, and that physician said do this. That's what I'm going to go with. Ultimately, just not a really good way to manage our healthcare. So Quantum Longevity Protocol, QLP, is a decision governance framework that focuses more on the actual decision-making process and signal clarity across multiple diagnostic domains to make sure that at the time of making a decision, our patients are making the best decision possible and not justifying the decision by positive outcomes on the back end. So, no, I threw a lot at you there, but that's kind of a really, best way to summarize exactly what we're doing.
So with your protocol, AI plays a role because
Absolutely.
I would absolutely agree with you. There is so much data available once you get into a medical scenario that it does leave many people going, what the hell do I do? So your protocol has some of those solutions and pull it all together. How did you come up with the concept of let's zero this in a little bit? How did you develop it like that?
Yeah, no. I'd love to say that I'm a genius and just thought of it out of nowhere. But honestly, we just solved the problem that was in front of us.
Yeah.
Early on, like I said, the business was a med spa. We recognized, one, this is not how we want to serve our patients and clients, and it's not fulfilling for us. So the solution is more diagnostics. Once we had more diagnostics, the problem was, and this is society in general right now, is we have so much information out there. There's not a lot of frameworks with what to do with it. So I'm excited seeing this in healthcare, and it exists in other domains, but I imagine that governance is going to be a bigger part of the conversation across our entire society, just as AI continues at this voracious pace of information. It's like, what do we do with that, right? We as humans can't keep up. We got to figure out how to organize, assimilate, and make good decisions. So that's really how it came to be.
When you earlier mentioned the fountain, just to backtrack a moment, you are located. It is a facility here in Palm Beach County. How can people get in touch with you? The address, telephone, website. I
Thanks.
think as we get into this, people are going to go, "Wait a minute, I need to know more. I've got to contact Blake."
Yeah, thank you. So our phone number is 561-320-3142. That's direct to our concierge line. Website is the Fountain WPB, as in westpalmbeach.com. And then all of our social media handles are the same, at the Fountain WPB, as in West Palm Beach. So you can reach out to us via any channel, and happy to meet people where they are. Not everybody's ready for governance in healthcare yet, but we have a really unique way on the front end of communicating with our clients and understanding how they make decisions around healthcare, how governed their current health strategy is. And that allows us to really define and dictate which pathway with us makes the most sense initially. So again, somebody who's just getting started on their longevity journey, for example, doesn't feel like they have to dive into a full, governance protocol.
Blake, based on what you're saying, it sounds like we would have a lot of good candidates for QLP. Describe who would be an ideal person. One of the things that I keyed in on is it's probably someone that is in a leadership role because they want to make the most out of this life that they have.
It typically is. Like, it really resonates with CEOs, executives, business owners, high-level professionals, typically 40s, 50s, 60s, that have experienced complexity in their health, right? Which I think we all at a certain point do. They recognize, again, that as they get further in their life, longevity is not a simple, hey, do this one thing and you're cured. It's right now exists as throw a lot of things at the wall and hope something sticks without really knowing what's sticking. Just keep doing all of what you feel is actually working. And so the people that experience that frustration seem to show up really ready for what we offer. It's interesting because I feel like everybody that's concerned about their health and especially their longevity is kind of heading towards this destination, right? Everybody may start off simple, but as we age, things get more complex. There's just no way around it. And the system as it's currently built is not set up to account for that. It's all very fragmented, right? There's a lot of great stacking of decisions, but there's no real comprehensive plan for how do we manage all areas of healthcare at once and proactively get 5, 10, 20 years ahead of genetic health risks and early indications from other diagnostics. It exists today of just let's cross our fingers and hope, be quote unquote healthy and hope that 20 years down the road this isn't a problem.
What are the pitfalls? if any?
Sure. Of QLP specifically?
Yes.
The one that we're working through right now, and it's still fairly new as a program, but we're continuing. We're kind of in a longitudinal refinement phase right now. It is intended as a program to not only help at the point of decision, but also help with accountability over time or longitudinal accountability. So right now we're kind of in the longitudinal refinement phase where we really need 24 months with patients in the program to understand how it works and where the shortcomings are. The first thing that's really come up and we're working through right now is we didn't indicate the pace at which an individual patient is willing to go after, right, their longevity. So give you two different examples. Let's say you have one person who is just had an exit from their company, right, very financially doing great, kind of taking a breather, right, from that heavy pace they were running in their old business, and now they've neglected their health and they really want to kind of make this their full-time job. That person is going to go after their longevity at a very different pace than the CEO of a Fortune 500 company that is still very much in the mix and very busy. They can't attack it with the same speed. So we're working on integrating into the logic system, and part of our intake process, like, hey Sam, how aggressive do you want to be in implementing these therapies? We're still going to prioritize and sequence everything, but the pace is dictated a little bit more by the patient. And ultimately, if it's a big health risk, right, something that's important, we need to get on, that we're going to emphasize, like, I know you said you don't want to go after this too fast, but this is urgent, do it now. So that's probably the one pitfall that we've experienced so far, but we're, like everything, working through it.
And that sounds like it's a very positive thing because it is patient centric. And the pacing of everything gets back to the patient. When you're looking at, and I call it patient, I know that technically you're not a physician, but anyone that is receiving the care to get to a point of longevity that they want to be, they have to be looking at it going, there are layers of decisions that are being made. And I know, for example, you print out a report and it shows them that. Does that factor into how they look at the progress they want to make?
Yeah, so they'll have access to the entire report. And the report, what's generated on the back end. So we take diagnostic data, right? So from all the reports, we take our intake questionnaire, which includes, again, how they make decisions on healthcare, how governed their current strategy is, how aggressive they want to be, plus all the medical context, their desired outcomes, et cetera, other recommendations, medication lists, more information in, the better. Put it into the system, and the output that we're receiving comes in three layers. The first layer is the clinical layer, which is very heavy, very deep, typically 30 to 40 pages of, again, kind of sequencing, prioritization, long-term health constraints, et cetera. And that's intended for our MD to review, right, and kind of sign off on. And again, AI has its shortcomings. We're all aware of that. So it's kind of a safety check to make sure this all checks out and everything sounds good. And it's been great so far. But then the second layer is the patient-facing layer. So that's reviewed on site by one of our nurses with the patient. And that is, here's what we see. Here's what we're paying attention to. Here's what we're kind of deferring but keeping an eye on. Here's what we're ignoring altogether. And here's how we're going to attack it moving forward. The third layer is actually the game plan. It's a timeline, sequence, prioritize. All right, for the first 4 weeks, weeks 1 through 4, Sam, here's your priorities. Week 4 through 8, 8 through 12, et cetera, et cetera. And so it has the high level clinical side for us, and the patient has access to that. But what we found, even in like our MRI, for example, we do a full body MRI, that report, the clinical report, it's gibberish to most people. So we have an AI program that actually creates a patient-facing clinical report there too, that just tells them, hey, here's what you're actually seeing. Here's the questions to ask your doctor, et cetera. With QLP, we have the different layers intentionally so that it's very digestible for the patient as well.
Earlier, as mentioning that many of your candidates come in because they are into concierge medicine. They are into getting that extra level of care. When the results that they receive are taken back to their concierge physician or others, feedback from them entered into the equation, and what kind of feedback are you and the individuals receiving?
Yes, that's probably another shortcoming that we're overcoming at the moment. And so we built the internal portal for which we operate, right? That just streamlines the process for us. Our ambition is that we establish a patient facing portal as well that does a couple of things, but relevant to this question, what's most important is their ability to in real time upload information. And when they enter in the program, we run that initial report, which is again typically 35 to 50 pages. The patient facing side maybe being 10 pages of that. And then every quarter we're running an update. And in that quarterly update, we're including any new diagnostic data, right? Any changes they've made. But what we realize is when somebody comes in and sits down after 3 months and we're like, all right, Sam, what changes happened in the last 3 months? They can't name everything. And that the data and the precision of the changes is really critical for making sure that we're getting the absolute best game plan moving forward. So providing them with, whether it's on the phone or on the computer, you could log in and say, okay, as Sam, I started, omega-3 fish oil today at this dosage, and I'm doing this every day from now on. Like that real-time information we can then upload into the updates. And so speaking about the concierge positions, like their clinical notes, their recommendations, those could all be entered by the patient as well. And maybe eventually we have a kind of partner portal where the physician goes in themselves and enters that information on behalf of the patient. That's probably a little bit farther down the road though.
Capacity. I know that this is an exciting program. By the way, for our audience, I've done quite a bit of research on the field, if you will, and you're unique.
Thanks.
There seems to be nothing comparable to what you're doing. So to me, that's an open door. That means people are going to come knocking on the door. What
Yep.
capacity do you have at the fountain, or capacity overall? Is it a first come, first served basis? Are you inviting everyone to just come on in? Are you looking to expand?
Yes. So before I jump into the capacity, I want to touch on what you said about the uniqueness of what we're offering, because it's something that's really perplexing to me. As I've gone down and again kind of recognized the need for governance in healthcare, we see governance in financial investments, right? We see governance in aviation. We see governance in the military. And easy example, look at the airplane, right? If you're on a plane and all of the lights start going off, right? As a pilot, you're not just randomly flipping switches and hoping that it works out. There's decision trees and escalation thresholds, etc. Same thing for financial investments. There's investment committees and certain guidelines under which private equity firms will make an investment. And there has to be certain signals present and certain level of clarity on those signals, and etc. It's like we will employ governance for our money, but we haven't done it for our health yet. Like that was fascinating to me that it exists in so many other places. And I wasn't really aware of governance until we stumbled into it, facing this problem. But I'm like, we have such a structured way of approaching these complex decisions, but we're not doing it for our health. And it kind of makes me sit back and wonder, why not? Because it makes perfect sense.
And I think that is what caught me by surprise too, that, it seems such a logical thing that we would do this for our own health, but you appear to be the first, or at least that the showing up on the radar. But honestly, I don't think anyone else is doing it. So I want to give you some, nice kudos there and a pat on the back. But back to, once everyone gets to know about this, are you already planning ahead for a larger fountain facility, or expanding what you're doing throughout the state, maybe even franchise?
Yeah. So brick and mortar is difficult, right? And I think anybody that's owned a brick and mortar business recognizes the challenges of duplicating that. My business partner, again, our kind of sister company is Encore Imaging, and my business partner has done very well in the MRI spaces, owned and sold off 60 something locations in the last 15 years. So he's got that brick and mortar model down. But I think for us, and it's a little bit different in the type of care that we're delivering, a little more difficult to replicate. And I recognize that as we're starting to build out this program. I think that the Fountain and the QLP program inside the Fountain will always serve as kind of a proving grounds for QLP as a system. And we have tremendous opportunity for capacity here at our location in West Palm Beach. We can do most of what we do remotely. Can't take the MRI machine anywhere, so once a year, people got to come see us and hop on the MRI machine. But outside of that, we can do a lot of this, like you and I are doing today, via telehealth. But the goal, I think, is to refine, again, QLP over the next couple years and turn that into a licensable product where we can take it to other longevity clinics, other concierge practices. And I think the biggest benefit that they will find is it takes, let's use concierge physician, for example. It takes them from being 2 feet wide and 2 miles deep in their subspecialty, and the memory and computing power of AI now allows them to look at the picture 2 miles wide and 2 miles deep and create a more comprehensive approach to their patient's healthcare instead of it remaining this fragmented, hey, you got to see 6 specialists in order to have kind of sort of an idea of what things you have to do. So long-term thinking, the goal, I think, is to license QLP as a system for other practices. But again, the Fountain will always exist here to serve our clients in the longevity space as well.
Do you see healthier people as having been exposed, the number of people that have been exposed to QLP so far, they can immediately or within a short period of time see their health improving?
Yes, so I'll speak. I mean, can't share specific patient information,
Right,
but I'll speak for me personally.
Yeah.
So when we started doing all of our diagnostics, right, I obviously did the full body MRI, did the genetics, I've always done the blood work. And there was kind of some, not glaring red flags, but there were some flags on each of them, like, hey, this is worth considering and taking a look at. But it didn't really connect the dots for me of like, what's the common trend or theme across here, and where's the signal really strong and stuff that I need to pay attention to. So for me, my follow-up diagnostics have certainly improved, but the thing that was really most beneficial, I'm 40 years old, for somebody my age, was I was able to get a 25-year head start on preventative maintenance against Alzheimer's and dementia. I have a genetic precursor for that. My grandmother had it in her mid-60s, saw firsthand, how devastating that can be. And my full body MRI showed some early, white matter changes in my brain, which is not alarming now, but it's kind of like, hey, this is something serious to pay attention to. Combine that with high cholesterol in my blood work, which I, for other reasons, was like not super concerned about. Those three things together, this system identified and flagged like, hey, Blake, you can't maintain decades-long chronic inflammation and elevated cholesterol. Your heart health is good based on your heart calcium CT, but that inflammation and high cholesterol over time is actually going to negatively impact your cognitive functioning and will push you towards Alzheimer's dementia much faster than if the risks associated with taking a statin, for example. So for me, it was really eye-opening, and all the physicians I've seen over my years, because they don't have the whole picture, never heard that. And it was really kind of the kick in the butt that I needed to like, hey, I need to manage my cholesterol more responsibly, right? Even though my heart health is good, that actually affects my brain health, which I had no idea. And what it's ultimately given me, on top of all of my labs trending in the right direction and all my diagnostics like biological age and so forth moving in the right direction, is confidence that I'm doing everything that I can to manage my longevity, right? Because you ask most people today, it's like, how do you feel about your health? Do we just say confident or uncertain? Most people, the answer is uncertain. And I've come to a place where I was uncertain, and now doesn't mean I'm confident I'm going to live to be 120, but I know I'm doing what I can to mitigate health risk, extend longevity, and then optimize my performance today. I'm looking at the picture with probably the clearest view out of anybody in the country, honestly.
I think that fits with what I was going to initially introduce you as. And I didn't because I wanted to get through the program and see if I had perhaps chosen a correct label. Nobody likes to be labeled, but I
Sure.
like to look at people and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, Blake and I have been talking about this program about being on the podcast for a few months.
Yeah.
And so I have literally gotten to know him over these multi-month period leading up to us finally getting to record the podcast today. And something stuck in my mind as I talked with him, and we found that we had some commonalities in how we were looking at many different things, from AI to business to the healthcare industry. And you are a true healthcare futurist. And I have not really found others in that channel out there who have the ability to say, this is what we are doing, and this is where we are going, and this is how we are looking at longevity. So going forward, I'm going to label you with the label of a healthcare futurist. So I hope you don't mind me putting that label on you. But
Well, I've been called a lot worse, so that works for me.
I think it's an exciting, and I guess that's the question. And I know the answer, but are you truly excited about getting into this before anyone else has really gotten into it?
Oh, it's lit in a fire under me that I haven't felt in a long time. I have a passion and wake up every day super eager and excited to share what we're doing with the world. And I've always been big in any business I've had at making sure that it provides value, and everything that we've done has provided value and typically geared towards health and wellness and quality of life. But I recognize the unique opportunity I have with QLP to really possibly, right, long way between here and there, but possibly change the face of healthcare and longevity entirely. And that gets me super fired up.
We have covered a lot of territory, and I want to know seriously, is there something that we have not touched upon, Blake, that you want to make sure that we get out today before the program is over?
No, I think we've done a great job of really covering everything. I appreciate you having me on. I hope that, in the conversation, it's come through to the listeners and viewers that what we're building is existential for us, right? And that there's so much alignment with the way in which we experience the world and the challenges that we're facing as a society, and that we just happen to be applying it to healthcare and longevity. And what's super exciting for me, kind of talking about what gets me up in the morning and what I get fired up about is at some point, right? And maybe this turns into a decades long endeavor for me, but at some point, QLP will be passed on to, I imagine, larger companies and people that can really use their power to get it out to the world. Governance is something and how the quality of the decisions that we're making, I think, is really critical across our society as a whole right now. And so I'm excited as well to kind of see what other areas this can be applied, and specifically looking at how to improve the human condition. So if I could leave the viewers and listeners with one thing, I'm really excited about where this is going.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can attest to that. I know that you see a bright future in this, and as more people learn about it, I know they will as well see that there is a tremendous upside to having access to the things that you're talking about with QLP. So, Blake, my pleasure to have had you here on the program one more time. How may people get in touch with you?
Sam, thanks so much. I really appreciate being here. Our phone number here at the Fountain in West Palm Beach, 561-320-3142. They can go to our website, www.thefountainwpb.com. That's westpalmbeach.com. And then our Instagram and social media handles are at thefountainwpb as well.
Blake Baynham, it has been my pleasure, totally my pleasure, to have you on and talk about quantum longevity protocol. I think it's something that from a healthcare futurist, we are going to be hearing more and more about. And ladies and gentlemen, urge you to check it out. give him a call, go to the website. Look forward to one more question. And
Sure.
that is the toughest question that I always ask. Will you be available to come back for yet another episode?
Absolutely. Would love to.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have it from Blake. He is going to come back and share an update with us in the very near future about how things are going, and we look forward to it. Blake, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Sam.
And I am Sam Yates, your information business guru for the Florida Business Forum podcast. We're happy now, going into our second year of being Florida's #1 business forum podcast. And thanks to people like Blake, we're making it very, very enjoyable. Thank you, and thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everyone. You've been listening to Florida's #1 Business Forum podcast. Thanks for listening. Until our next episode, stay tuned for more business.